Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, and welcome to another Star Wars The Clone Wars season review. I am Dead Ponic, and joining me again is King Orange.
Hello there. And here today, gentlemen, we are reviewing the one, the only Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 2. Now, for those of you who are not up to date within our series, we have already made the post on Negasonic's channel of Clone Wars Season 1. Season 2 is going to be on my channel, just for fun promotion material, not to mention, it gives you guys something fun to look at, so, and if people ask why we do that, does it make any logical sense? Well, that's up to you to decide, but it's our channel, so we can do whatever we want. So, too bad. Anyways, we're going to be covering Season 2. We will be dividing it within the coverage of arcs, much like the first season. And then after kind of judging the quality of the individual arcs and how it expands certain characters, settings, everything else, we'll then come to our conclusion of what we think of the season as a whole. So with that in mind, Negasonic, is there anything you would like to warn or excite our fans about, or are you ready to begin?
Let's get started. Also, I'm going to be making a lot of, I'm going to keep saying this, but I hate bugs, and when we get there, I'm going to keep saying it, I hate bugs, so just so you know.
This is where the fun begins.
Yeah.
So we shall be beginning this. Our first arc is focused on the one and only Cad Bane. So much like, so you know how we mentioned in Holocron Heist how Cad Bane was one of the best characters?
Oh, Holocron Heist actually is the start of Season 2. It was,
oh, not Holocron Heist. Crap! What? My brain.
It was when they take over the Senate building.
Hostage crisis. There we go.
Yep.
Yeah. Forgive my error in naming episodes. Anyways, proceed. So, it begins with Holocron Heist, which is basically an arc on the Holocron Heist arc is a three-parter arc that is centered around Cad Bane infiltrating the Jedi Temple and stealing a holocron, not for the Separatists, but by the one and only Darth Sidious. So, this is where I'm going to get into another fun thing that we briefly mentioned in the first season. Star Wars The Clone Wars is not in chronological order. And the reason why is I remember, as a kid, when looking into Holocron Heist, my initial impression, because I was a dumb kid, was the events of Hostage Crisis impressed Palpatine so much that he called Cad Bane to do this dangerous assignment. Until I realized, wait, this is revealed to actually chronologically take place before that. So this is kind of an underlining theme with Star Wars The Clone Wars, is their stories are very out of order. And we're going to kind of cover this more as the season goes on.
Oh,
However,
yes.
However, that being said, this begins with Cad Bane infiltrating the temple with the help of himself, his little droid, Toto, and a bounty hunter changeling, much like the one in Attack of the Clones. Except, unlike Attack of the Clones, she actually takes advantage of it.
Yes. Yes, one of the many, 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 many flaws of Attack of the Clones, and also probably budget constraints.
True. But she basically disguises herself as a Jedi Master before changing midway into Jocasta Nu, Jedi.
Actually, the episode actually begins on Felucia, where Ahsoka refuses to leave her where she is because she doesn't realize that the droids are going to overrun her. So the council decides they're going to put her on guard duty in the library.
Yep, and don't forget, she has the mind, she is still at this time just 14 years old. Fun stuff. Which means, of course, she's going to find that boring. I mean, when we were that age, who wouldn't?
I was a library geek, so, at that
nobody asked you.
Get the door. I am a technical service droid, not a butler droid.
You are what you are. You are what I say you are.
Anyway, so
Eddie,
after shenanigans, Obi-Wan and Anakin wrongly assume that the intruder that they detect is going for the communication center, when in reality they're hitting the vault, which contains obviously a holocron, which is what Cad Bane was paid to get.
so
However,
this is... Oh, go ahead.
however, in the next episode, it turns out that he can't technically open it without a special crystal that contains the list of the most force sensitive children in the galaxy, and he needs a Jedi to actually open the holocron. So it ends kind of on a cliffhanger. And they find out that it's Cad Bane, and after a brief scuffle with Ahsoka capturing the changeling, the changeling sells Bane out. Basically tells the Jedi that he's going after a Jedi named Bor Rapal, who is the one who has the crystal. Anyway, next episode, which is Cargo of Doom. So Bane captures the Jedi Bor Rapal. He's torturing him. While this is going on, Anakin and Ahsoka try to get back the holocron and capture Bane. Now they do this in a very interesting way. The way they board the ship is, well, King, do you want to explain this one? Because I can't do it justice.
These walkers are meant for raw terrain, not space. Anakin, I am going to pull what is called a pro gamer move.
Yeah, basically they use the ATTEs and basically use that as like a mini transport to get on board the ship. And this is also where I remember that the commercial for season 2 where Ahsoka is running around in her spacesuit, or out of her without her helmet, and she's chasing after Bane. And you see Bane, he turns around, he says, you got nowhere to go, little Jedi. I got you right where I want you. And then it cuts to the answer saying Star Wars The Clone Wars premiering on this day. And that's the commercial I remember for this episode. And that it actually got me really excited. And so
something this episode does work to highlight a considerable amount is, despite it having really good action and everything else, it is one of the earlier episodes to highlight one of Anakin's major character flaws in relation with his attachment to other characters. Which means, despite the logically sound idea being not to give up the hologram with thousands of Force-sensitive children, he cannot in good conscience let Ahsoka die. And this is something that is actually highlighted multiple times within Season 2, and this is sort of the start of it. And this is where I will argue this episode already highlights how Anakin and Ahsoka's relationship already has improved so much since Season 1. Season 1 was very kind of like cold shoulder vibes a little bit. It was a little hard to really see the connections. But I think Season 2 is definitely kind of the starting point where these two have actually developed sort of a relation where it's kind of like they're now learning more from each other and everything else, which I kind of like. And that's something even highlighted at the end of the episode where Anakin wants to go after Bane to get the holocron, and Ahsoka's the one who has to tell him, no, the ship's about to blow up. We have to be patient on this. And it kind of highlights how, in a sense, in the context of Anakin in the show, he basically kind of needs her almost as much as she needs him. And, you know, this is something that's going to come into play much more as the series goes on.
Yeah.
But Cargo of Doom, fun stuff. And we get to a third one where Bane disguises himself as a clone, escapes, kidnaps a bunch of children, and by a bunch I mean 2, before getting caught. And basically, Anakin and Ahsoka have to do an Easter hunt for 2 for two Force-sensitive babies that are kidnapped by Darth Sidious.
Oh, that reminds me. The way they figure out how to get to know to go to Mustafar, they basically Bane erased the Navicomputer records in his ship, which, by the way, is a really cool ship. And if you don't know, that's actually the same type of ship from the Clone Wars movie that attacked Anakin and Ahsoka while they were on the Twilight heading back to Tatooine. Neat little tidbit there. Anyway, so they figure out, so Anakin says he erased his navigational records, but not his fuel records. So if they cross-reference everything, they can figure out where he went. And he says this is an old Jedi trick that they use to track down smugglers. Which kind of brings up the question, how, as Darth Vader, you think he would, still have that knowledge and probably use that against most smugglers. Then again, it's a minor detail. Anyway, they go to Mustafar, and this is kind of just a tiny bit of foreshadowing as to what's to come, way down the series, but they end up rescuing the two children. Obi-Wan and Mace escort Bane to a hidden, outpost you could call it, which is obviously booby-trapped, because why not? And they get the holocron back, they escape, and they realize that, the Sith are trying to recruit children as new Sith warriors, and, Sidious says as himself he wants to kind of experiment on these children. Sidious is not a good man. Not even close. Anyway, so, next arc, my favorite arc of season 2 is...
Oh, before we get into that, something interesting about the next upcoming arc is that this is the only arc in the entire series that is composed of 5 episodes. 5! I'm not even kidding when saying this.
And it actually works well, although there are a couple stinker moments, but so this next arc is the Geonosis arc. So it starts
begin with Senate spies. This is gonna be fun.
Oh yes, it turns out that Padme has an ex-lover who may or may not be working with the Separatists. So
I wonder how Anakin's reacting to this.
Not well, apparently. So she meets with Rush Clovis, and they go to I think it's
Cato Neimoidia.
Yeah, and while along the way, Anakin disguises himself as a Naboo pilot, and he's like, "Allow me, my lady." And this one's broken.
Whoa! You can't say he disguised himself as one. He was one. He blew up a Trade Federation battleship.
He only put on the helmet.
Helmet's still part of the uniform. I rest my case. Anakin was a real Naboo pilot. Hashtag Anakin is a Naboo pilot. You can't change my mind.
Okay, anyway, so it turns out the Council's hunches are right, and Clovis is in fact working for the Separatists, and Padme discovers that the Geonosians have built a new droid factory. While this is going on, I guess you could say representative of the
Trade Federation
attempts to poison Padme and succeeds, and uses that as leverage over Clovis. Anakin gets the antidote to her, and she gets the information to the Council. Now, one little creepy little detail I didn't realize was that in order to get the hologram blueprints, you have to enter a voice password. And guess what the password is?
I wonder. We have a guy who's conspiring with the Separatists. He's going to be smart about this. He wouldn't just name it after his ex-girlfriend, right? Right?
Password, please. Padme? Unlocking. Oh.
It's no wonder Poggle the Lesser was mad at him.
He should have used password for the password. That would have been so much funnier though.
True, but that one's also almost just as dumb.
Anyways,
So this leads into the next episode, or as I like to call it, single-handedly the most action-packed Clone Wars episode I think I have ever watched. Landing at Point Rain.
oh yes, and this is also, well, technically the second introduction of Ki-Adi-Mundi, and so 3 generals are going on the ground. All hell breaks loose. Good thing those bugs can't aim.
I think the best way we could describe... There's no easy way for us to describe this episode, so I'm just going to have this montage basically describe it instead.
This is another fine mess you got us into. Hey, you were supposed to study the holomap. I did! Remember when I told you about the giant fucking wall? And you said, oh, don't worry, Snips. We won't be anywhere near that. Just get ready to climb. Also, Rex gets a really fun moment here where he literally walks up through a droideka shield and blasts the droideka. Now, this is going to come into play later down the line, but it's established that slow-moving objects can actually pass through the shield. And, well, Rex just proved that. But this will come into play later down in another arc. But it's something to think about, because fast projectiles like blaster bolts and throwing grenades, they don't work. They just bounce off the shield. It's something to think about. It's actually a really neat design. Nobody would think to, walk slowly through the shield and blast the droid. Anyway, they blow up the wall, and Ki-Adi-Mundi's having some fun. Bring in the flamethrowers!
Republic war crimes. This is going to be great.
Oh, yes. And then, while all that's going on, we get another appearance from Waxer and Boyle. They have to rescue
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan and Chopper. That's the clone that is still alive. And then...
Wait, we have a clone named Chopper, and we have a droid named Chopper. Disney Plus show, the Choppers team, the Choppers Brotherhood. It's confirmed. If Disney makes it, then I get to sue them.
Yay. Anyway, so they come all together, they blow up the big giant shield that's protecting the factory, and this ends on somewhat of a happy note where Ki-Adi-Mundi actually outscores Anakin in terms of kill count.
65. So what do I win? You win in Order 66. Wait, what?
Although this is kind of a neat character moment for Anakin where he shows his respect to Ki-Adi-Mundi, which is kind of nice, actually.
Indeed.
Anyway.
On to the next episode.
Yes.
So, the droid factory is under siege. Pongo the Lesser has decided, we have a giant droid factory. Why don't we decide to make use of some of our military prototypes? So he does just that.
Yeah. And this is also, this introduction is also introducing us to Barriss Offee, who is Luminara Undulli's apprentice. It also starts off also with Ahsoka giving the briefing rather than Anakin, which goes a long way to Anakin building his trust for her, although he does kind of interrupt and take over for her.
Thanks for doing the whole speech for me.
Yeah, it's a good moment for them, and also I find it hilarious that they trust the Padawans to blow up the factory rather than let the Masters do it. Although Barriss does get credit for memorizing the entire hive structure.
Not just that, but don't forget Anakin was a little reluctant to go along with it. And again, this is kind of a highlighting theme in this season, but Anakin is very protective of Ahsoka to the point where he will not allow her to die at all. And this is very much highlighted even more within this arc, even more than the Holocron Heist arc. Because the thing about this arc is that this is probably the first close call we have genuinely seen Ahsoka almost die. So a big focus within this episode is not only with that, but also the relationship built between Ahsoka and Barriss. As basically, while Ahsoka's more of an unorthodox student, thanks to Anakin, Barriss is a very by-the-books Jedi. You know, it's like Barriss is a very, very pure Jedi. You know, it's not like she'd ever commit any acts of treason, terrorism, or assassinations, right? Right?
Also, there's a similarity between... That's the same similarity between Rex and Cody, which I just realized, which is actually really neat. Anyway, they blow up the factory. Ahsoka and Barriss actually used the new super tank to blow it up. And I actually really like when the tactical droid is monologuing about how the super tank is invincible, and there's like a grenade like right next to his head on the tank, and it just blows him up. And well, happy ending. They blow
up the factory.
Yeah, they blow up the factory, and Barriss and Ahsoka are medevaced out, and now that leads on to the next episode, which is my favorite. Oh man, we're gonna have some fun now, kiddies. So, it turns out, Poggle he's fled towards a tactically unsound location, and it turns out there's a big bug. I'm getting some alien vibes here. And so, Luminara gets captured, so Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Cody and a bunch of clone troopers go down into the catacombs, and they find out, oh shit, there are Geonosian zombies down there. And, well, this episode just turned completely horror-based. So, make sure you go to the bathroom before you watch this episode.
So a big thing within this regard of the episodes is that it sets up a horror vibe of the clones getting picked off, and basically it leads to Anakin and Obi-Wan eventually finding Luminar's location. This is where they meet the character Karina the Great. Yes, that's her actual full name.
I did not know that.
Don't question it. This is a minor... Now, before I get into any more things with the plot line, here's something I find kind of funny. I've kind of realized with Star Wars The Clone Wars, Filoni hates subtitles. Because not in a single episode do they ever utilize subtitles. It's like every character part of the original prequel trilogy that spoke alien, they always get like a translator droid. And if it's an original character, they always have them speak English for some reason. It's like, you mean to tell me that Karina the Great, a freaking Geonosian queen that's literally probably been isolated for her entire life, can speak basic English, but Poggle the Lesser, the political leader of Geonosis, can't?
Yeah, and also, I just realized that in Attack of the Clones, they actually show subtitles for when he's speaking Geonosian, and yet in TCW, they don't, which is just weird.
It's strange. Anyways, back to the main plot.
Anyway.
So it's revealed that the reason these Geonosian undead can basically rise from the dead is thanks to a Geonosian parasitic creature known as a brainworm. And that what is also revealed by Karina is not only can they be used to revive the dead, but they can also be used to infect and take control of living creatures, including Jedi.
War crime.
Yes, war crimes. And then Karina basically wants to test this on Luminara Unduli. And almost to a creepy way, Obi-Wan is almost surprised, is actually kind of a little bit fascinated by it. I'm sorry, I'm with Anakin on this one. And
kill the bugs.
Kill the bugs. And Commander Cody does just that. And they basically bury her alive. Yay! Mind control creatures can't go loose into the galaxy. I'm sure this is definitely the end. Why?
Oh yeah, one favorite line I like. Obi-Wan, look out! Anakin, I was gonna study that. Study the bottom of my boot.
Yep, but I am sure this is definitely the end. The mind control plot line is gone. The Geonosis, this is definitely the end. Poggle's captured. Geonosis is done. Wait. Let me look at the list. Wait, you mean to tell me there's another one?
Yep. Now we're getting to body snatcher territory. So, it turns out there are still some parasites alive, and they infect the clones. Through one clone, he manages to infect another, and Anakin and Ahsoka are escorting a medical frigate to a medical
mean
station.
Barris. You mean Barris.
Yes. Sorry, my English is not good right now. Anyway, so then they realize they're under attack by their own clone troopers. Huh. Foreshadowing. Anyway, so the clones that are under the control of the mind worms, they take over the ship, and now all hell breaks loose. I actually...
Barris and Ahsoka are attempting to basically prevent the ship from docking with the medical station and warning them of what is to come.
Yep.
Ahsoka succeeds on her part. Barris, I'm afraid, does not get so lucky.
Yeah, I really like what the clone says. If there's one thing we clones know how to do, it's how to trap a Jedi. Huh.
I wonder if this comes into play later.
Yeah, I wonder. Anyway, so Ahsoka and Barris end up fighting, and Barris regains control, and she says to Ahsoka that she has to kill her. But by means of Anakin relaying it to Kit, who relays it to Ahsoka, they use the cooling system to basically freeze the worms, and she's knocked unconscious. Everybody's okay, and Ahsoka has a moment where she didn't want to kill Barris, but she knew what she had to do, and Anakin gives her like kind of a motivational pep talk. So disaster averted.
So something that this episode also highlights, and this is kind of a big thing as well, is that this is pretty much the first time in the entire series that we've pretty much seen Anakin go full dark side. As in order for him to get the information needed on how to stop these parasitic creatures, he interrogates Pago the Lesser. He tries the traditional Jedi method, which is Jedi mind tricks, and yeah, that's still attempting to control someone through their mind. War crimes at their finest. Anyways, when that doesn't work, Anakin tries a more physically persuasive method to get him to talk. And this is emphasized to such a high degree that they even get the Imperial March to play while he's doing it.
Yeah. Nice touch there, guys.
So, with that in mind, it highlights a very specific trait again. Anakin will not let anyone die. He's very keen on that trait. And that is something Star Wars The Clone Wars does pretty well with Anakin's characterization. It does highlight his attachment issues and how he really is hell-bent on not letting anyone die. So, and this is kind of a realization that even Ahsoka has to come to terms with, of she can't always save everyone. Because in this episode, it highlights that her biggest concern is that, yes, it worked out this time around, but a day might have to come where she has to sacrifice the few to save the many. And that's a sentiment that she starts coming to that Anakin does not share. So,
yeah. Anyway, next episode is, well, it's a two-parter, Grevious Intrigue. This episode starts with Grievous attacking Eth Koth's ship and capturing him.
Wait, Eth Koth. Didn't Eth Koth die during the Battle of Geonosis?
No, that was somebody else.
Are you sure? Because I recall within the Holocron Keeper that Len Shi specifically confirmed that Eth Koth died.
Hmm.
It's even in the Attack of the Clones reader guide. So,
I don't know.
ladies and gentlemen, this is where if you've watched our last video, I've already stated that for the most part, we will refrain from comparing the show to contradictions to the EU. Because I'm not going to lie, if we did, we would be here all day. However, I did mention that we would not refrain from calling out contradictions to the movies. This is established as a contradiction. And for some reason, I don't know why Dave did it when he could have just as easily used Egan Kolar, who's basically the same character.
Same species, yes, they're both Zabrak. Anyway, well, this is actually, and I think you're gonna hear this a lot from me and maybe King too, but this is where the respect for General Grievous kind of takes a nosedive. Although he does get one good, maybe ruthless action where he says, "Listen, Jedi, I don't care about your politics. I don't care about your whatever the line was."
Republic, I only live to see him die.
Yeah, see you, all of you die. And this is over a holocron message while there are younglings in the room. Huh. I'm sure that's not going to come back and traumatize them.
Oh, please, they won't live long enough for that. Oh, wait, sorry, spoiler alert.
God damn it. Damn it.
Anyways, as I was saying, basically this results, so given that Grievous kidnaps Eth Koth, the Jedi then basically launch a giant military offensive to try to rescue Eth Koth and to capture or kill Grievous. As we mentioned before, this is where the respect for Grievous starts taking a nosedive for a couple of very obvious reasons. The first is Grievous just doesn't really win at all. He's kind of, in that sense, he's kind of pathetic in a lot of areas, which sucks, but, you know. And then the second major issue is that Grievous, though in this episode, to be fair, he does make some tactically sound decisions. It's just kind of a shame that it just never works out. Anyways, on to the main point. Kenobi basically lowers Grievous onto his attack cruiser, so that way Anakin and Adagalia can go on board and rescue Eth Koth without Grievous being there. So, with that in mind, basically it's just kind of a giant action-packed suspense thriller, basically.
Oh yeah. When Anakin and Adagalia get to the bridge, Anakin's like, surprise. Not exactly, and then a bunch of commander droids appear out of nowhere. I like what he says. Well, at least they're not destroyer droids. And, well, the tactical droid does get a funny gag where he tries to use his other arm that's been severed because it's the one that controls the electroshock thingy, and he can't use it because his arm was cut off. And Anakin just smiles. That's a pretty funny moment.
We've never argued that TCW lacks good humor, because it absolutely has good humor. Anyways, this episode ends with Grievous basically crashing on the planet's surface, and the Republic forces are now going down to Seleucami to hunt him down.
Oh, I also really like the conversation that Obi-Wan and Grievous have. An army with no spirit, no conscience, just programming. What have you to learn from that? What have you to gain? A future where there are no Jedi around. Not gonna lie, that conversation is pretty interesting. And it's more than just a fight. It's not Anakin, Obi-Wan and Grievous like talking and not just fighting. They're not like just glaring into each other's eyes. They're actually, having banter and throwing barbs at each other. It's a fun little moment, although, yes, the respect for Grievous does go down the hill a little bit. Anyway, next episode, The Deserter, my favorite of these two. It introduces a clone deserter, and Rex gets injured. Can we get a little bell here? Shame. From a commando sniper team, no less. So Jesse, Kix, and the rest have to escort Rex to a farm where the deserter lives, and it turns out, well, he's got a family, and his wife is a Twi'lek, and their kids are Twi'lek human hybrids. Interesting. Anyway, so while this is going on, Grievous has to find a way off the planet, while Obi-Wan and Cody and their invasion force try to find him. This also leads eventually into the two children finding a escape pod filled with commando droids that are partially damaged and are now droid zombies. And so, what's the name of the deserter again? I can't remember his name.
LaQuain.
Yeah. So he basically gives Rex a gun, and he basically has a good stand. And I love the build up for the tension here. I love it. It's actually, and also Rex kind of gets a really good character moment here where he's like, no, I'm not going to turn you in because you're a deserter. You have a lot to lose now. And because you sheltered me and fed me and all that, I'm not going to turn you in. And it's a really fun episode. It's a really good episode. And also, I like how Grievous is, he's so pissed off about the droids complaining, so he just freaking kills one, and he's like, anybody else? Puts it back in his cloak. Also, I like the way I actually like the way he like tries to escape instead of like trying to get on the ship. He just uses his little grapple rocket thingy, and well, he flies away.
It's kind of a fun callback to Revenge of the Sith, which is kind of fun. But something that this episode also does very well is that it also, one of the better episodes within season 1 was the hidden enemy, and one of the reasons why was because it introduced some of the moral dilemmas that these clones had. Were they just slaves ripe for the slaughter, or did they have any personal agency? And this is something that's expanded. And this is something that's expanded on in this episode. Cut LaQuain does represent a clone that chooses to leave behind his old life, his life as a soldier. And Rex at the beginning of the episode can't perceive why. He only sees him as a deserter, and that's really it. There's nothing else to it. However, by the end of it, he comes to understand why he did so. That there were different values that he developed that became important to him, and that it allows Rex to even put the question of, is it possible for him to live a different kind of life than the one he has? Is he being part of the Republic because he wants to be, or because the system is making him feel like he has to be? And these are interesting dilemmas that, hopefully gets expanded on. We'll cover that more as the series progresses.
Next episode, Lightsaber Lost. One of my least favorites of season 2. Ahsoka loses her lightsaber and has to team up with an old Jedi Master who walks around with a cane that isn't Master Yoda. Very tortoise and hare. And also, I'm just not a fan of this episode. And also, at the end where the thief actually takes hostages and uses the lightsaber, the guy comes in destroying it, and then he pulls out part of his cane, so he has a lightsaber cane. Interesting. What's the name of this guy again?
I actually forgot his name. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm just gonna call him Old Man Sheep.
Yeah, that can work. Anyways, one thing that is pretty cool about this episode, because I like it a lot more than Negasonic does, but something that I always found interesting within this episode was sort of how it kind of helped emphasize the patience of Ahsoka as a character, and sort of that contrast between the older, wiser Jedi versus herself, as that is something that I tend to enjoy a lot out of stories. However, that being said, it does cover a lot of ground that's already been done. So it's kind of like, it's one of those episodes where it's a fun watch, but, it's not really essential. Anyway.
Also, it's a reference. It's actually this. They did this before in a comic with Anakin and Obi-Wan. Anakin actually lost his lightsaber, but it turns out Obi-Wan actually just took it because he's trying to teach him the whole this weapon is your life thing. Keep an eye on it, which is another callback to Attack of the Clones. Huh.
Interesting.
Yes. Anyway, so next episode is, oh yes, the Mandalore arc. Oh, now we're getting here. Mandalore Plot starts with Obi-Wan going to Mandalore and meeting, as it turns out, we find out later, is an old flame, Duchess Satine. And it is also where we discover, it turns out there's a terrorist group that wants to bring back the old Mandalorian ways called Death Watch. And so Obi-Wan and Satine go to, what is it, Concordia? I believe that's the name of the moon.
Concordia, to investigate basically the source behind these terrorist attacks. So, as this goes on, it kind of helps develop Obi-Wan and Satine's, development and fling and everything else. During this, it's revealed within the episode that the mastermind is Prime Minister Pre Vizsla. Bum, bum, bum.
And also, this is the introduction of the Darksaber. I hate this weapon, so I'm not going to talk about it. So, also, there's a really cool moment where Pre Vizsla actually, he's like, here, I'm going to give you your weapon, defend her if you will. And boy, howdy, does Obi-Wan defend her if he will. I really like the banter between Satine and Obi-Wan, especially in the first two episodes. Oh dear God, to have Obi-Wan brought to Anakin's level in a sense is just so entertaining. Oh man, if only Satine. Oh, I can't spoil that. Sorry, I'm not gonna spoil that.
Anyways, one big emphasis that this episode has is that it pretty much does highlight that Obi-Wan did have quite a bit of similarities to Anakin within his time, and that where their differences lie was that Obi-Wan was a lot more committed to the Jedi Code. And this is where it leads to, by far, the best episode in the entire arc, Voyage of Temptation.
And,
God.
My favorite episode of, possibly my favorite episode of season 2. But this is also where we learned that Satine, it's because originally they suspected that Mandalore was going to join the Separatists because of Death Watch's involvement. But in reality, they're a neutral system, obviously because of the past with, Mandalore and the Mandalorian warriors and the Mandalorian wars and all that. Which, does this really contradict the old EU with the Mandalorian wars, or no?
Yes, but, well, basically, in the context of the old EU, Mandalore never really had a centralized government. It was always more of, different clans and tribes. And, basically, the way this had to get retconned was basically saying that
there was a civil war. There was a civil war.
Yeah, there was two made up conflicts done later on. Like I said, though, I'm not gonna get into this whole thing in depth because, like I said, in my opinion, the contradictions between Star Wars: The Clone Wars and the original EU deserves its own video.
Ooh, yes. Or you can go watch the Council Forcecast video on it, which is quite interesting. I have seen that myself. Anywho, so there's an assassin droid trying to kill Satine specifically, and Obi-Wan has to basically protect her along with Anakin, Rex and Cody, and a squad of clones. They discover that there's a turncoat among the representatives of the neutral systems.
We have an imposter among us.
God damn it. Anywho,
I'm sorry, I had to. I had no choice.
Anyway, so now it turns out that Prince how Merrick is working for the Death Watch, he takes Satine hostage, and this is where we get a tender moment between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Obi-Wan, it looks like I may never see you again, but I've loved you ever
Oh, you mean Obi-Wan and Satine?
Yeah. Sorry, oh my gosh. Okay, anyway.
You don't let your fan fiction fantasies get in the way of the Clone Wars review.
Sorry. Anyway, so and then Obi-Wan's like, Satine, this is hardly the time or place. Alright. Had you said the word, I would have left the Jedi Order. And Merrick is basically like, who's gonna kill me in cold blood? Well, Anakin does, and if you listen closely, you can hear the Imperial March again. Anakin. What? He was gonna blow up the ship. I mean, he was right. Right? I mean, he was gonna blow up the ship. So what was the only option? And also, it should be pointed out here that Duchess is taking more of a pacifist ideology when it comes to Mandalore and the neutral systems thing, which is really neat. Although I really like the banter in the dinner hall where they're like, the sarcasm of a soldier, the delusion of a dreamer. Oh man. Okay, whoever wrote the script for this episode needs to be I hope they're behind like the new Kenobi series that's coming out soon. I really hope they're the one who wrote this, or they're actually involved in that project. I really want that. Anywho, next one is Duchess of Mandalore, where they use political maneuvering to basically
frame Satine for murder,
and also say that Mandalore intends to actually, rise up against the Republic and the Jedi and join the Separatists. Although this is falsified, and also it's nice to see that Satine is actually like, she's not just a world leader. She can, handle herself. I mean, she pulls out a deactivator, although why would you carry a deactivator?
Because reasons.
Just because I'm a pacifist doesn't mean I won't defend myself. Now you sound like a Jedi. Sorry, I love that episode. Anyway, so Obi-Wan has to help her.
The third and final episode doesn't really contain as much as the previous two in terms of development, since a lot of it kind of came down to the first two. However, it is still a fun episode to watch. It has a Death Watch assassin trying to kill Satine before the truth gets out. And this is also the point where after Satine gives the information to the Republic about the truth and withdraws the Republic occupation, it leads to a not so pleasant conversation between Vizsla and Dooku.
Oh yeah, I forgot they were working with the Separatists. And also Palpatine gets a good moment here where he's like, crap. So much for my political maneuvering.
Unfortunately, now this is kind of a point where Star Wars and Clone Wars does tend to have this habit where sometimes it'll leave threads open and kind of skip certain storylines to get from point A to point B. And the Death Watch is kind of an example of this that will be covered later within our Season 4 review.
And possibly Season 5 too.
Well, yeah, I was just saying, the next time we see Death Watch after Season 2. Anyways, so all around, Mandalore Plot, pretty good. It really develops Obi-Wan's characterization, which is kind of fun because up until this point, we haven't really had a major arc that focused on him. So, that's pretty good. And then, after that, we're on episode
15, Senate Murders. Can we
dear God.
Can we skip this episode, please? Please?
No.
Aww.
No. We owe it to the fans.
Dang Ferric. Anyway, okay, so there's a mysterious person who kills Anaconda Farr, who is apparently the uncle of Padme, or she just calls him uncle. Oh, that's weird. And this is also the introduction of one of the worst, the second worst original character from TCW, which is that inspector guy. Hate this guy, don't want to talk about him, let's move on. It turns out that it's Anaconda's I guess, secretary. I have to watch the episode again, but I believe it's his wife, and she's all disillusioned and because apparently Anakondafar did something related to what happened in season 1, where the Trade Federation put Rhodia under blockade and blackmail. And that's why she murdered him by poisoning him, by the way. And it's up to Padme to figure this out, and I think Bail Organa, And well, they figure it out, and this woman is finally apprehended, and thankfully we never see this Inspector guy ever again. Good. Next episode.
Wait, don't we end up seeing him again though in season 3?
Fuck. Whatever. Anyway, next episode. Cat and Mouse.
There is one thing I do like about Senate Murders though. I love when the reveal comes where she's like, where the one who committed all the crimes like takes Padme hostage. Like everyone is panicking except Palpatine, and Palpatine's just smirking the whole time.
Yeah. Yep.
That's like the one part of the episode I like. It's almost like Palpatine's just going like, yes, this is going well. I like this political drama.
Yes. Anyway, 0.5 out of 10. Let's move on. Next episode, Cat and Mouse. Very, very, very paying homage to a certain submarine movie called Das Boot, which is a German submarine movie, by the way. It introduces us to the spidery guy, Admiral named Trench. And this is also a good character moment for Admiral Yularen, who is also the voice of the narrator at the beginning of every episode, which is kind of interesting. So Anakin is gifted a new toy, which turns out to be a stealth ship. There's a line later about no ship this small has a cloaking device. Gee, that's not gonna come back and bite him in the ass later. Anyway, so Anakin takes this stealth ship and is supposed to deliver release surprise to Christosis, to Senator Organa. However, Trench is putting pressure on the Republic, so Anakin decides, in a classic Anakin move, to use the stealth ship to attack Trench. And this is where we get a really good submarine vibe, as I said before. And also, I really like Trench as a commander. If Grievous was this competent as Trench, the war would be almost pretty much over by year 1.5. I think.
Something that is really enjoyable about Trench is that he has like a lot of personified knowledge, which is kind of nice. And then it's interesting how there's like a big history between him and Yularen. Like they had like basically a kind of like a rivalry before the story started. And that is something that is seen within that storyline. What's kind of unfortunate is that they don't really cover this too much within the future, which is kind of a shame. It would have been nice if they covered this.
Yeah.
But it's still overall a really well personified story. And ironically, canonically, it's the first episode in the entire show. Chronologically.
Fuck. Great. Now I have to go back and watch every episode again. Great. Thank you for ruining that for me. Anywho, so, another thing I really like is, well, actually, the secondary pilot is actually wearing what would later become the TIE Fighter pilot helmet. If it's a blink and you miss it moment. And I really like the way that Anakin actually uses the tracking torpedoes against Trench. And I also like how he's basically... It's the way that Yularen describes him. And he says, the efficiency of the droids, the tactics, it can only be Trench. And I really like how Yularen is given a lot of depth and character, and he's basically working off of Anakin. And he's like, yeah, I know you're kind of reckless and, hard charger, but I'm offering my services as consultant in order to help you take down Trench, because he is dangerous. I love this episode. This is a great reference to the submarine movies. Seriously, go watch the extended edition of Das Boot. Make sure you turn on English subtitles, though.
We're not on that freaking... We're not reviewing that at the moment, sir. Sir.
Sorry, I can't speak German, so you're not gonna hear me speak German. Anyway, next episode. Bounty Hunters. I don't remember what this one's about, actually.
Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan crash land on Felucia.
Oh,
The
yes, this
farmers
one.
are being extorted by Hondo.
Oh, yes,
And-
yes. Now I remember. Oh, yes, this is also the introduction of Embo. Embo. He's one of my favorite bounty hunters because he has that like circular hat like he's a monk, and it basically like absorbs blaster bolts, and he wields up a bowcaster, which is specifically stated in the lore that only someone with exceptional strength can fire it, let alone fire it one-handed. And Embo does both. And a bowcaster is actually the main weapon of the Wookiees. So he garners my respect. And also there's the small guy in the robot suit. Actually, this actually is one of the episodes of The Mandalorian is that actually references this because with the training of the villagers. Except there's no chicken walker involved, thankfully. This planet...
Yep, so...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so basically this entire entail, it brings back Hondo, which any episode what Hondo in is instantly at least a bit of a gem.
Yep.
Because Hondo is just that good. But it pretty much has the conflict. It's very much based off like the Seventh Samurai type thing. If anyone has not seen that movie, please do so. Seventh Samurai or the Magnificent Seven.
I've seen the new Magnificent Seven that came out like in 2014. That was actually really good, by the way. I have not seen Seven Samurai though. Magnificent Seven, I thought it was really good. I actually have seen the original Magnificent Seven because I am a boomer, unfortunately, but I have not seen. Okay, so Hondo ends up attacking the village. We get a great action sequence. Also, apparently Hondo has a Kowakian monkey lizard, which is the same species as Salacious Crumb. That's his name, but it's not actually Salacious Crumb. Anyway, and then he ends by fleeing, and he says, "This planet is no longer profitable," and then he leaves in a flying saucer. Yep.
Yeah, so all around this episode, it's not really too necessary in the grand scheme of the story, but it is a really fun episode. The banter's always fun, so all around, pretty good episode.
Next episode is the Zillo Beast. What happens when Star Wars introduces nuclear weapons? Yay! So it starts out on Malastare, which is home of the Dugs. There's a big battle going on, and this scientist develops a freaking nuclear bomb that's dropped on the droid army, but it ends up waking up a Zillo Beast, which is this ancient beast that the Dugs were trying to wipe out a long time ago. So Mace and Anakin have to figure out a way to make the Dugs think that it's dead, but in reality, they have orders to capture it and bring it back to Coruscant. Huh. That's not gonna bite them in the ass.
Anyways, the following episode basically takes place with the Zillo Beast escaping its confinement, causing havoc on Coruscant. Palpatine, for all your genius, you really make stupid decisions sometimes.
Oh, yes. And also, it's weird because, I really like what Mace says. What is Skywalker doing? It appears to be another one of Anakin's improvised plans. How can it be a plan if it's improvised? And so Yoda and Aayla Secura, of all people, go and they basically run along the back of the Zillo Beast to distract it so that Palpatine, Anakin, and Padme in their little shuttle can get away. And so they end up having to, kill the Zillo Beast. But at the end of the episode, Palpatine orders the Doctor to clone the Beast because it turns out its armor plates are pretty much immune to almost everything, including lightsabers, blaster fire, cannon fire, starship cannon fire. gunship cannon
I'm
fire.
curious if this particular plot line will go anywhere.
Maybe.
It
Anyway,
doesn't.
final 3 episodes, season finale, part 1, Death Trap. It reintroduces a young Boba Fett. Now, it's important to note that it's the same actor who played Boba Fett in the live-action Attack of the Clones movie. However, he's much older, which I find okay. Although, I'm not a fan of young Boba Fett. Just pointing that out here. But I do like the fact that he's getting some attention. And his whole shtick is that he's going after specifically Mace Windu, because Windu is the one who killed his father. Yeah, Jango Fett got ahead in life. Haha.
Very much so.
And so Boba basically teams up with Aura Singh and Bosk and another guy named Castus, and they basically try to kill Windu, and they end up blowing up the cruiser. And while this is going on, Boba actually disguises himself as a clone trainee, and he proves that he's much better than most trainees, which is quite interesting. It's a fun episode, and it's great to see like this little plot detail from Attack of the Clones come to fruition. And even Boa's actually wielding his father's twin blaster pistols. Although why he swaps them out for a EE3 is beyond me. Anyway, next episode, R2 Come Home. The cruiser that was sabotaged is caught in a gravitational pull of a nearby planet, and everybody is evacuated save for the admiral who is too stubborn to go down to leave his ship. He ends up going down with the ship, and Anakin and Mace Windu are actually injured while they're looking for the survivors. Mace encounters Jango Fett's helmet, which is booby-trapped, and Anakin and Mace end up getting injured, and R2 has to fly out of there and get help. Hence what the name of the episode. This is also a great moment. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
Yeah, and so basically, Aura is basically taking Boba under her wing and basically encouraging him to be kind of ruthless. But he doesn't really, he's starting to kind of have second thoughts. Although, I actually kind of like this episode, and I like the last one, but my favorite moment comes actually at the end of the episode where Aura and Co take clone hostages and the Admiral hostage, and Mace thanks R2, which is kind of out of character for him, and he basically sees why Anakin puts a lot of faith in R2 so much. Because if it weren't for him, they'd probably be dead. Fun times. Next episode. Final episode of the season. Lethal Takedown. So, there's a hostage crisis going on, and Aura she's not a good person. She actually kills one of the clone hostages and throws him out the airlock of Slave 1. Huh. I completely forgot about that little detail. Anyway, so Ahsoka and Plo Koon, of all people, have to track down Aura, and basically Ahsoka is basically using her powers to basically figure out what the hell's going on, and they go into, I guess you could call it a dive bar of some kind, and they figure out where Aura is, and and shenanigans ensue. And this is another great character moment for both Ahsoka and Plo, and this is gonna come back and bite Ahsoka in the ass later, trust me. Anyway, so Plo manages to subdue Boba, and Ahsoka manages to rescue the hostages, but also manages to supposedly take down Aura and Slave 1. And, Boba finally confronts Mace, and they have a quick conversation. I don't actually know what they said, I can't remember, but basically they're still kind of, Boba's still pissed off at Mace, and he ends up being taken away. The episode ends. End of season 2. well, that was fun. Who's for Chinese?
Well, certainly. So all around, putting into the context of season 2 as a whole, the big thing that would kind of define how season 2 is it is a major improvement from season 1. In fact, it's probably it's kind of like season 2 is probably the biggest leap in quality within the entire show. Doesn't mean it's perfect though. There are still flaws with it. But I will probably say this. The best thing Season 2 has going for it is that it's probably the closest that we have to a perfect Rand season. As in, for the most part, there's not really many, if any, bad episodes.
Save for Senate Murders. Senate Murders is a bad episode.
Agreed, but even then it doesn't really do anything insulting to my intelligence like, another episode from season 1 did.
Yes. Okay, so let's end the episode here. So, favorite episode overall, or favorite arc of season 2?
My personal favorite out of the bunch, probably Deserter is probably my favorite. And Cat and Mouse is a close second, just because I do like the emphasis with the submarine warfare. It's kind of a different pace, which I find really good. I also tend to enjoy landing at Point Rain a lot.
Oh yes, that is a very good episode. I mean, the Geonosian arc is probably the best arc of the entire season. But Voyage of Temptation and Mandalore Plot are the two...
Oh, I forgot about Voyage of Temptation. Yeah, that one's a big one too.
Oh man, I don't know who the writer is for that episode, but I hope they've gone on to do great things. And I really like season 2. It's a great season. Season 3, what's the hopes and prayers for that one? Because for what I remember, there are some really good episodes, but then there's also a couple of stinkers in there. But we'll get to that.
Let's just hope it's really good. But overall, gentlemen, ladies, thank you very much for watching this video and getting listening to our discussions and our feedback within what we feel, how good season 2 was. So, season 2 will be posted onto my channel. Stay tuned for season 3 that will be posted back on Negasonic's channel, where we'll be discussing the ins and outs of that season.
As of the recording of this video, believe it or not, we are actually going to be uploading this particular video on May the 4th in celebration of the 45th anniversary of Star Wars. So stay tuned for that. And I'm really excited, by the way. And also, the new Kenobi series is opening with a two episode opener on May the 27th on Disney Plus. I'm really excited for it. I'm going to watch it. I may be live streaming it. I may possibly be live streaming on May the 4th, but I'm really excited. May is going to be a big month for Star Wars. So if you're a Star Wars fan, stay tuned. Anyway, thank you, Orange, for your involvement in this. And hopefully next season, there's not going to be any major war crimes committed.
Oh, you poor naive fool.
Anyway, I'm signing off. Orange, you want to say anything before we end?
Ladies and gentlemen, remember, if you enjoyed the type of content we make, please try to subscribe to both of our channels. Negasonic has done a lot of great efforts within his Versus videos, his games walkthrough, and everything else. And any support that you can give would mean the world. Anyways, until we see you next time, peace, love, and may the force be with you.
Also, stay tuned because I am in the process of a new psychological profile episode, and I am currently working on the script for the next Versus video on my channel. It's gonna be an interesting one, although I did tease it. But anyway, see you guys later. May the Force be with you, and happy May the 4th as of the uploading of this video.